Hey everybody, happy GX June for the Mage of Ancients. Today, I'm bringing you my first ever Cyber Dragon deck profile. Before I get started with this video, if you guys enjoy deck profiles just like this, then be sure to subscribe and ring the bell for the latest updates. Now, while this may not be as competitively flexible as it was back in, let's say, 2016, I still think that Cyber Dragons are a pretty fun deck to play both casually and competitively. Also, with all the support that's been getting over the past few years, from Cyber Dragon Core being released in the Cyber Dragon Structure deck, to its most recent support in Dual Power with Cyber Dragon Nesta, I think it's a really great combo deck to play. Also, this is GX June, so I figured that this would be a great time for me to give you a deck profile as a tribute to Zane Truesdale. Pretty much one of my favorite characters from the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX series. He does have that passion to win, but after all, so I tried to make this as competitively viable as possible for you guys. Speaking of competitive, be sure to stay tuned to the end of the video because I will be giving you guys a side deck to feed off of in case you guys want to try this deck out on the competitive level. So with that being said, let's get started with this Cyber Dragon deck profile. So to start off with the monsters, of course you gotta run 3 copies of the original Cyber Dragon. Then afterwards 3 copies of Cyber Dragon Core, 3 Cyber Dragon Hertz, and finally 3 copies of Cyber Dragon Nesta. So Cyber Dragon Core, you're basically using it to search for your cyber name spells and traps like Cyber Emergency, Repair Plant, and Cyber Load Fusion. Cyber Dragon Hertz, you're basically using this in order to get it to your graveyard because as soon as it hits the graveyard, then you're able to search for any other Cyber Dragon monster like Core or Nesta. Speaking of Nesta, you're able to special summon a machine monster from your graveyard with 2100 attack or defense, and for the rest of the turn you cannot special summon monsters except machine monsters. But it is really good, and the reason why I think one of the reasons why people like using Nesta so much with Orcus is because of its discard effect. If you have Orcus Nightmare or Orcus, I think it's called Harp Horror in your hand, you can just ditch it and then special summon your Nesta, and then from there you can just do your Orcus combos from there. Speaking of which, I really think that the name of this card is called Nesta because I did some research, and basically if you spell Nesta in this exact way without the umlaut over the A, then it actually translates to of nearest. But if you put the umlaut over the A, then it actually spells this actually translated into Cyber Dragon Next. So basically Cyber Dragon Nesta is a futuristic Cyber Dragon, so that's why I decided to pronounce it as Nesta, not Naster or anything like that. For the rest of the monsters, I'm running 3 copies of Galaxy Soldier, of course. Then 1 Jizukiru, the Star-Destroying Kaiju. Both Galaxy Soldier and Jizukiru are searchable off of a Cyber Repair Plant, just as long as you have a light machine, just as long as you have a Cyber Dragon in your graveyard. Galaxy Soldier, you can send 1 light monster from your hand to the graveyard and then special summon it, and then search for another copy of Galaxy Soldier. Jizukiru, of course, you can tribute over one of your opponent's problematic monsters like let's say, I guess, a Salomon Great Boss Monster or a Thunder Dragon Colossus, or maybe you're trying to bait out one of your opponent's negates, or you can also tribute over your opponent's Phantom Knights of Rusty Bardiche. Now for the rest of the monsters, this engine, you guys have probably seen this engine already, but I actually like it. So 3 copies of Symphonic Warrior Guitar and 1 Symphonic Warrior Mics. I just like this engine a lot, and I just like that extra normal summon. Also, in this case, Mike's is a level 5, so in case you want to go for a rank 5, then you can definitely go ahead and do that. Unfortunately, you cannot use this for Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon or Rampage, or what is it called? Chimera Tech Mega Fleet Dragon, that's what it was. But like I said, you can use this to go into a rank 5 like Cyber Dragon Nova if you want to. I just like having that extra normal summon and getting that extra extender on the board. And then finally, the last monster that I'm running in my main deck is Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. I think this card has been pretty much relevant ever since it was released in Maximum Crisis. So I just think it makes sense to include it in this deck. You want to be able to just counter your opponent's plays. And besides, this is basically a going second base deck. But I mean, sure, you can try and play this going first, but it's mainly here. This build is mainly here to go second. So you want to be able to have as many outs to your opponent's boards as possible. Next, for the spells, I only run 2 copies of Cyber Emergency. I'll explain why later. 2 copies of Cyber Repair Plant, 1 Rev System, and finally 1 Cyber Load Fusion. The main reason why I only have 2 copies of Cyber Emergency is because I wasn't able to pull the third one. But you guys can go ahead and do that. It also has some really good synergy with the Orcus, just like I explained with Nesta. Cyber Emergency lets you search for a light machine that cannot be normal summoned or set, or you can also use this to search for a Cyber Dragon monster instead. And also, yeah, it has this effect where if this card happens to be negated while it's in its owner's possession, then you can discard 1 card and add it to your hand. So, like with Nesta, you can discard an Orcus monster and continue your plays from there. Cyber Repair Plant, like I said, if you have a Cyber Dragon monster in your graveyard, you can search for 1 light machine from your deck. Rev System lets you special summon a Cyber Dragon from your hand or graveyard. And finally, Cyber Load Fusion, it's just in case your opponent tries to out your board, that you can activate this straight from your hand, or if it's set on your field, and then go into plays like go into monsters like Rampage Dragon or what was that other monster? I forgot what it was, but basically you're using this in order to bring out your Rampage Dragon just in case your opponent tries to out your board. Next, I run 3 copies of Machine Duplication, of course. This has great synergy with Cleaver Genius. I run that card in this deck as well. So Machine Duplication, if you have Cyber Dragon Core or Nesta or Hertz on your field, then you can, and you have Cleaver Genius on your field as well. Activate Machine Duplication, special summon 2 some regular Cyber Dragons from your deck, and you can get an extra search off of Cleaver Genius. Afterwards, 2 Overload Fusion. I know that I only run one Dark Machine Fusion monster in my extra deck, but I just like having the ability to... I just want to be able to see my Overload Fusion more often. And then afterwards, 3 copies of Call by the Grave, just in case your opponent tries to out your board on your turn. Or you can also use it to just get rid of your opponent's Dengushu in their graveyard, or if they have a Spinny in their graveyard, you can out that as well. And finally, for the last of the spells, I run 1 Foolish Burial, of course, Monster Reborn, and 1 for 1. This is the lineup that I'm going with. Of course, you guys can adjust it any way that you want to, but this is the... I think this is a pretty decent spell lineup right here. And now for my extra deck. Of course, I run the staple Cyber Dragon Nova and Cyber Dragon Infinity. You can detach a material from Nova and then you special summon a Cyber Dragon monster from your graveyard. Oh, actually target 1 Cyber Dragon in your graveyard. But it doesn't really matter because you do have plenty of Cyber Dragons that act as Cyber Dragon in your graveyard. Yeah, I forgot to mention that pretty much all the Cyber Dragon monsters that I have in my main deck act as Cyber Dragon either on my field or in the graveyard. So you have no problem with that. Cyber Dragon Infinity, of course, it lets you take one of your opponent's monsters and attach it as material. Also, in the same turn, you can also detach material from Cyber Dragon Infinity and negate any card or effect that your opponent tries to throw at you. I also run 1 copy of Constellar Pleiades. This is a pretty good card. I just feel like that, you know what, I should be able to have an extra disruption on the board, just in case I don't have access to, just in case I wasn't able to special summon my Nesta yet. So Constellar Pleiades, it says here, once per turn during either player's turn, you can detach a material from this card, then target the card on the field, and basically bounce it. Those are the only Xyz monsters that I run in my extra deck, but you guys can bump it up to, maybe you can add an extra Nova or Infinity if you want to. Afterwards, the Link monsters that I'm running are 2 copies of Cyber Dragon Siga, and then 1 copy of Cleaver Genius, Link Haribo, Nightmare Cerberus, Nightmare Phoenix, and finally Borreload Dragon for the last Link monster that I'm running. I was thinking about, I just wanted to have my extra deck as flexible as possible. That's why I decided to just run 1 Cerberus and 1 Phoenix. Borreload Dragon, of course, your opponent cannot target it with card effects. So if your opponent tries to use something like Mind Control or maybe Widow Anchor on it, then they can't, because they can't be targeted by card effects. Cleave for Genius, like I said, you'll be able to get an extra search if you use machine duplication to special summon 2 Cyber Dragons to the zones that it points to. Link Karibo is just in case that I have either Neshter or Hertz on my field and I just wanted to get it away, so that way I can just try and get it into my graveyard if I want to. And then finally, if the fusion monsters that I'm running are Mega Fleet Dragon, Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon, and Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon. Like I said, I only run 1 copy of Rampage Dragon, but you guys can bump it up to 2 if you want, just so that you can, in case you do have your second Overload Fusion in your hand, that you can just use it in order to summon your second Rampage Dragon. Or if you want, you can also go for Chimera Tech Over Dragon if you want to. Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon, that's basically to just clear your entire board of all the machine monsters. Well, not just your board, but also if you happen to get your Jisukiro on your opponent's field, then you can send that away as well for Fortress Dragon. And it gains attack depending on the number of fusion materials used for this special summon. Mega Fleet Dragon, in case your opponent tries to in case your opponent has a problematic Link monster in the extra monster zone, then you can send that away along with whatever Link monster or extra deck monster you have in your own extra monster zone. You can send those 2 away along with the Cyber Dragon you control for a Mega Fleet Dragon. And last but not least, I understand that there are some people out there who want to try and play with this deck on the competitive level, so I decided to fashion this side deck for you guys, just so you could be prepared for whatever event that you're going to next. So these are my own personal choices for my side deck, but you guys can incorporate whatever side deck choices you want. So I run 3 copies of Droll Lockbird. This is for all those decks that try to have extended combos, especially the danger-based decks like Danger Orcus or Danger Thunder Dragon. But it's also good for all those other rogue strategies that try to search for that many cards and draw into that many cards. And I also run 3 copies of Dino Wrestler Pankratops. Good going second card that you can just slap it onto the board for free in case you're as long as your opponent controls more monsters than you do. You contribute it and then target 1 card that your opponent controls and destroy it. And then afterwards, 3 copies of Twin Twisters. This is good for going against Mystic Mind based decks and Sky Strikers. Although it's not as good as Anti-Spell Fragrance in my opinion. You just want to be able to out your opponent's back row as quickly as possible. So if your opponent has Mystic Mind on the field, you can just activate Twin Twisters and then just discard a card from your hand and then destroy that Mystic Mind as well as another card that your opponent has on the field. I mean, another spell or trap that your opponent has on the field actually. Like I said, it's Twin Twisters is probably not as good as Anti-Spell Fragrance. Anti-Spell is mainly here because in case you're going against Mystic Mindburn or Sky Strikers. If you set this while you're going first and then you activate it during your opponent's turn, then if your opponent has no out to it, then you are more likely to win the game. Afterwards, the last card that I'm running in my side deck is Infinite Impermanence. This is good for going first or second. In case your opponent tries to combo off during their turn, then you can just activate Infinite Impermanence from your hand. Or during your own turn, what you can do, you can activate it from your hand and try and negate one of your opponent's monsters, like whether it be Thunder Dragon Colossus or your opponent's one of your opponent's boss monsters. Maybe it's a Ultimate Conductor Tyranno. Anything that you can imagine. So that's it for this deck profile, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know down in the comments what other deck profiles you guys would like to see. Also, be sure to leave suggestions on what improvements you would make to this deck. Also, if you guys enjoyed this video and you want to help support the channel, then be sure to hit that like button. And if you haven't so already, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you stay updated on my latest Yu-Gi-Oh videos. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and I hope to see you again.